Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, Kevin Hagerty. So, thank you.
I'm going to use these. Have you seen these? Your parents probably have these. My parents had these all over the house, and growing up, I wonder why in the world do they have these? Dime store glasses is what I call them. Whenever one of y'all turn 40, if you're not already wearing glasses, you're going to understand why I have to use these, because you're going to have them too. I bring greetings from President Powers, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer, which means I deal with the money. I deal with your tuition that comes in through the door, and then I work with the President and the University Budget Council to figure out how that money actually gets passed down to the colleges, to Dean Deal in your particular case, and he works with you and he works with his colleagues, department chairs, etc., to determine how that money actually gets spent. President Powers does send his greetings. He's a busy guy these days, and so I was happy to actually stand in. This is a wonderful opportunity to meet with you all. It excites me to see so many students active in this. The one message that he wanted me to extend to you is how committed he is to a liberal arts education. You've heard him talk about a lot of different things across campus, but liberal arts is always front and center. And I must say, that as a parent of a graduate of your college, my son graduated 2 years ago with a liberal arts degree in economics and government. And I compare his education that he has to my son, who is graduating this year in business. And I'm a graduate of the business school. It's not that he doesn't have, or he's not receiving a great education in business, but I will tell you that it's my belief that my son with a liberal arts undergrad is much better read, has a much wider and broader appreciation. It's a great underpinning for your future. So I'm very committed as a parent also to liberal arts. When we talk about building, there are a lot of different things, a lot of different controversies, a lot of different questions that come up on campus. The first thing that I wanted to talk to you about, though, is the fact that it's a bit like talking about a chicken and egg discussion, which comes first, the chicken or the egg. And the reason I say that is because there are two critical ingredients to the success of any college, not just liberal arts, but any college. One is obviously people. We want the best and the brightest faculty, the best and the brightest graduate students. Why? Because they're the ones that are teaching you in the classroom. But to have people, we also need to have space. So you have people and space. Which comes first? The fact of the matter is that there's you have to set priorities, and it has to be a balanced priority. It does no good to hire a bunch of people and then not have any place to put them, just as it does no good to build a building and have it totally empty because you don't have enough money to hire the people. So it's a balance. It's also the quality of the space. It's one thing to have a building and space that you can offer to somebody, but think in your mind, some of you have been on campus a while. In your mind, picture the worst building that you can think of on campus. And there's some really stinky ones. There's some buildings here that I swear when I walk into them, it looks just like and smells just like it did when I was a student in the 70s on campus. Now imagine if the campus, every building on campus, was exactly like that worst building that you imagine. Would you have come to Texas? Do you think somebody that's preeminent in their field would be attracted to that kind of situation? My only point is that while everything can't be new, everything can't be shiny, and even the old buildings have purpose, we've got to have a variety of buildings. Some really premier space, some older space, because the older space gets older, the premier space gets older, and hopefully new space will follow it. So we have to have really well thought out space. Plus there are other aspects of space that people can talk to you about, and that is styles and purpose for teaching. The way they used to teach even things like chemistry when I was back in the dark ages in the 70s when I was in school is different than the way they teach it today. So space needs change. So it's not good enough just to have buildings that are static, that decline, and then you do nothing about it. I like to say in financial terms, space is a currency here on campus, and it's the honest to God truth. We pay people in two ways. One, particularly faculty and graduate students. One, here's a salary. Everybody has to pay the bills at home. But two, here's space in which you can do your work. Not just your teaching work, but your research work. And it's a very, very important currency. And that was something new to me when I came. I came from Dell Computers, so believe me, when they gave me my cube to sit in, it was not my currency. I could care less about that. But here, space takes on a very, very different meaning. Now, to build space, the historical model used to be to build almost all of these buildings. A dean approaches the administration and says, I need a building, here are the reasons, etc., etc. Can we figure out how to pull together the money to build this space? And the budget council, the president, the provost, there would be all kinds of discussions, and ultimately a decision would be made. It was a pretty ad hoc process. When money got tight, that process didn't get easier. It didn't get easier by a long shot. It required that we set priorities. It required that we begin to think very creatively. Well, I've got to give credit to Randy Deal for being creative. He did not take the usual approach and come to the budget council or come to the president, the provost, to say, I need $100 million, or actually I think it's 97 or 95.7 million to build this new building. He came to the budget council with a partnership proposal. I'll put this up because it's that important to the college if you'll put this up. It was a participation kind of thing, which in the development world where you're trying to raise money, it's magic. I mean, people want to invest in things that you think are so important, you're willing to invest in it too. And so he created that model, that kind of shared funding model, that quite honestly has become the model now for the rest of the campus. We've done the same thing on the communications building and something very similar on the computer science building. But Randy and his colleagues set that model, and I'm telling you, that's what got the deal done. Not just because he came to the table with dollars, but because it expressed to us how important that space was if we were going to take a really good program and make it great. We had to have that kind of space. The building, as I said, is a $95.7 million building. That's before any finance cost or anything. That's what it's going to cost to construct it. $78 million of that cost is going to come from various sources within the college itself. The balance, which is $17.7 million, is going to come from the central administration. The college money comes from a variety of sources, partially gifts, partially money that has accumulated and not been spent. We call those balances or reserves. And partially by floating debt. We go out in the market and essentially put the equivalent, you've probably heard of it in terms of a mortgage on the building itself, a 30-year mortgage. On the central administrative side, we're going to finance our piece with a mortgage. So we'll be taking out more debt, which is usually, that's typically what you do on these kinds of buildings. And we'll both pay off our shares of the mortgage over the next 30 years. A little bit a month. So we finance it that way. But again, it was the actions of the dean in stepping forward and coming up with this creative model that led us to that kind of construct and actually got this building going. And we're absolutely committed to make this building go. In fact, you've seen the trees are boarded, the fences around. Rick Archer is going to talk to you about the building. He's told me that they've already started to do the deconstruction, demolition of the building from the inside. There's a lot of stuff they have to take down. There's abatement. There are things that we used to put in the ground and put in the building that you can't just tear out and toss away. You've got to treat it, with care, and then eventually you'll see the bricks and mortar begin to fall. I'm often asked the question since this building was announced. It's great. We need a new building. We need new space. I understand faculty need space, students need space, etc. But why now? And I'll answer that from a financial perspective. We saw an opportunity in the market that if we move forward today, at the time when we made this decision, we could save on construction costs. Right now, many construction companies are doing work at or near cost just to keep their businesses going to ride out the recession. And many suppliers are selling materials at or near cost, or at least a reduction to what they used to cost. So we estimated that we could save anywhere between 5 and 10% on the cost of the building. Now keep in mind, it's almost a $100 million building. So we're talking somewhere around $5 to $10 million savings on the building itself. And so it was based on that we decided to move forward. But there's more, and there's even better news. We don't typically bet on the interest rate markets. When we decided to move forward with this building, our projections suggested, this was before the recession really was in full swing, that it was going to cost us about 5% in terms of interest rate, 5% interest rate on the debt that we would float, which is a sizable amount on this building. And so that's what we pro-formed. We were very comfortable, let's move forward. The market has moved down. So today I found out that we financed 87% of the building, even though it's not constructed, at 3%. May not sound like much of a differential going from 5% to 3%, but when you pay that off over 30 years, that'll save us, just on the piece that we financed, more than $20 million on the cost of this building. So now we're talking about building a building that might have cost you somewhere in a good market 130, 135 million for 95.7 million. So it's really good news, and I would tell you from a financial perspective, it made all the sense if we could find a way to do it, which we did, to do this building. So my message to you is, I think it's a great deal. We're excited about this building. The President's support is behind it, getting this building done. And so, you know, I hope you'll join all of us in really feeling good about this and making this thing happen and beginning to breathe life in the building. I personally am looking forward to this building opening up in May of 2013. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll stay around.
Thank you, Mr. Haggerty. Our next speaker is Dean of the College of Liberal Arts, Dean Randy Deal.
I'm delighted that we have this kind of turnout on a very rainy afternoon. This is wonderful. There's obviously a lot of interest in this building. What I'd like to talk about is what's going into this building and what's in it for you as students. Let me start by talking about the teaching space in this building. I actually had to write these numbers down because truthfully, there's a lot of teaching space, and I'm going to just work through these numbers very quickly with you. There are 29 classrooms in the building. These range from relatively small seminar rooms to mid-sized classrooms that seat 30 to 50 students, all the way up to smaller or mid-sized auditoriums that seat anywhere from 100 to 130 students. 29 classrooms ranging across those sizes. In addition, we've got 4 lab spaces that will be partly devoted to instruction. Now, among these various classrooms, we have, as I mentioned, seminars, mid-sized classrooms, auditoriums, but also computer labs and other laboratories, teaching laboratory spaces that makes this building one of the most important teaching facilities at UT. We desperately need the teaching space. Currently we are oversubscribed. It is difficult to find the space on any given week to teach our courses or to do special events. And so we planned this building to address for the long haul what has been a dire shortage of teaching space. The important thing to know about this teaching space, it's all smart classrooms. It's all high-tech, state-of-the-art. Liberal arts has actually been an innovator. Most of the smart classrooms that you've experienced were actually designed by the tech staff of the College of Liberal Arts. And we are moving forward with wonderful teaching spaces, high-tech teaching spaces that will, to my mind, enhance the quality of the undergraduate experience. Now, in addition to the teaching space, this is going to be the home for liberal arts students. There's going to be a lot of space devoted to Liberal Arts Council. There'll be offices, there'll be a workspace, and there'll be a very large amount of study space, both inside the building, and there'll also be a very large outside deck with furniture, which will be a very, unfortunately, I'd like to say it looks at the pool, but it doesn't quite. But it nevertheless will be a very desirable, welcoming space for students to study, to lounge, to talk, to sleep occasionally. So the Liberal Arts Building will be the first official home for liberal arts students. If you're a business student, you go over to the Macomb School, and you will find space dedicated to business students. If you're an engineering student, you will find dedicated space. We have never had dedicated student space for liberal arts students, and this